Hi and welcome. Apparently. Hey, what's up? So, today I don't have an iced coffee or an alcoholic beverage. It's a zero energy drink. Oh, wow. Different. I'm like, usually the time is here. All right, cool. And it's so interesting today that the number is 4573 and it's the third day of the fourth month. So, in US terms, it's 4-3. And so that slash, I think in the title, right? 4/3. That's how I did it. Yeah, 4/3. So that slash is 5 and 7, right? Or like 5-7 makes up that in between the 4 and the 3. And I was like, interesting. Yesterday, the word recontextualize came up twice, but for it came Emily. Hey, how's it going? Hey, what's up? OMG, it's me. I was gonna like maybe I didn't make it to Duncan yesterday, so that's why I didn't go live. But my journey buddy did inform me or remind me that we had a full moon. So I don't know if this will coincide with the full moon or what, but I had an idea today. So I'm gonna use 3 decks. It would have been 4 if the numbers sort of called for it. I have 2 already shuffled. I'm gonna use a deck that there's a few decks, not too many, that I just like there was something about maybe the box or the name, and I was like, oh, interesting. And then like I get the deck and it doesn't like connect or vibe the way that I like thought. I just like didn't connect with it. And one of the decks I'm gonna use is that. I don't think I've ever used it on the channel. I don't think I've ever really used it outside of like, look at this, alfalfa. I know. But you know what? It's about growth. This reflects the growth. And I guess it ain't necessarily yet time to tame it, although it's coming soon. Anyway, what I was talking about, where was I? I don't remember. But I'm gonna end so recontextualize came up a lot yesterday. It was only twice, but the first time it came up, like the person talked about it and like they it came up with the definition, but not just the definition, but the whole like the syllabic breakdown and everything, like a full Merriam-Webster entry. And then someone else said recontextualize, but they said it in a way of like importance, you know what I mean, where it held a certain weight. It wasn't just a part of the sentence, it was the thematic whatever of that segment of the video, right? And so I was like, that's interesting. And then, like, I was like, okay. And it's so funny. I don't know. There is a certain, like, recontextualization. It's almost like, so I've been watching a lot of movie. I think I talked about it yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before. I've been watching a lot of movie breakdowns on YouTube, most of them horror. I have a horror capacity. And usually, if I watch one or two, I'm like, I'm good. But I've watched so many that it's just like, okay, I need like I need to purge my brain, just like chill for a minute. Um, but just like watching all these plots, and I've been watching a lot of like twists, right? Movies with twists. So first I'll watch a video that like explains the plot, and then I'll watch a video that like gets into the twist or whatever. And so it's just interesting how in a specific And it what was this? 24 to 26, 20 like early 24 to basically early 26. Basically 2 years, and just how, like, it was like this comment that was just made that I took to mean one thing. You live life, your eyes are open, you sort of experience, and then, like, it's like if I go back to that comment, it's almost like it almost played out like a movie. And then there's just like these ironies of like, and it's one that like I noticed and I felt internally, but like having to explain it, it makes it even more like it's so ironic that this is literally what I said here. This is what I said. This was the like this was the experience. This was the characterization. There was a question. And then literally a few months later, it's like having that experience almost again. And then it's like the question that was a no when it was first asked becomes a yes. And again, it's almost like scripted, just in the way that like, and it's just like, what? So anyway, I don't think that was necessarily the recontextualization, but I'm just like, wow. And again, it was one of those things that you kind of sort of take to mean one thing because I didn't know, right? I only knew what I knew. I was exposed to what I was exposed to. And then it's like the more sort of you work into the weave of the fabric, the more you get to see like dynamics and the interplay. And anyway, and of course, Mercury retrograde Pisces. But it was a different experience than I've had in the past. Or maybe it wasn't. Because I feel like it was more like a question. It was a question of, I feel like Mercury retrograde water signs for me involved these situations and scenarios of like a question of who I want to be and how I want to react or respond to a certain situation, what I want to carry forward, and stuff like that. And before, it's like things would play out in a certain type of way, and now they play out in a different way. And so for like a full moon Libra to happen, and it's like if you take a full moon to be illumination, especially in areas that like there's a limited amount of knowledge because it's at night, right? But with Libra, and especially like Aries Libra, it's this interplay between the self and others, relationships and individuality, and sort of like how it all sort of plays out. So, do you like fold into a fabric? Do you sort of like cut from the same cloth, type different, whatever? And I don't know. It's been interesting in a way that I wasn't anticipating, and also in a way where it doesn't feel like it's my place. You know what I mean? Like there are certain things it's like it doesn't feel like it's my place to do this. It doesn't feel like it's my place to say anything. It doesn't feel like it's my place to do anything but observe in this situation. And in that observation, it's the observation that like recontextualizes that comment, that offhand comment. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was just general coming of age, whatever. But it's like, no, there are like specific dynamics here. And it's like, okay. But anyway, I don't know. It's been fascinating. It's not necessarily. And again, like that's one recontextualization. personally. It doesn't necessarily seem or feel like I feel like there are a lot of things that can be recontextualized. And even if you take so if we were to take my specific individual into a group dynamic and sort of like scale it up, right? There's like a world view dynamic, and then there's like a narrative dynamic, right? And then it's again, it's like sort of being recontextualized. Anyways, you can scale it up, you can scale it down. I don't know. It's just like it kind of sort of is. Anyway, it's fine. So what I wanted to do today was so the number today on my it's not a nice coffee, that's why it's not an ICC. Usually I just title it ICC anyway, but today it's like not iced coffee and I didn't want to call it ICC because it's not iced coffee. Welcome to It Is What It Is Tarot Word is what it is and it ain't gonna be what it ain't gonna be. The number is 4573. So I wanted to take the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, and the third card from one deck. 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus 3 is 19. 4, 5, 9 plus 7, 16 plus 3 is 19. So take the first and the ninth card from a second deck, and then 1 plus 9 is 10. It does go 4 layers deep. So take the first card and the bottom of the deck from a third deck, because how do I get 0? You know what I mean? And then from a fourth deck, take the first card. I know the first two that I'm going to use. I don't know why in my mind when I was doing the math, I was like, what if I get 4? Then I only do 4. But when I was mentally doing the math, I was like 19, that's 10, 1 and 0. And I was treating it like a single digit number. So I was like, oh, great, I only have 3. But now I'm like 1 plus 0. If I follow the same formula, there will be a fourth deck. Um, I don't even know where my phone is. It's like in this general vicinity. It's fine. Unless somebody asking about food. So like yeah. The first deck is one again that I didn't really connect to, or I haven't necessarily connected to as of yet. It's another one I haven't used on the channel. There's one I haven't used on the channel that I connected to, but I didn't necessarily give myself time. I mean, I've used it. Anyway, this one, I don't know why I went for this deck, honestly. And I don't even know what to call it. It's like the Aset Romani tarot question mark because I know that like this word isn't necessary. It's like used in a derogative way. And then I don't know, maybe there was a certain like whimsy or a certain whatever that I like it kind of evoked. I was like, Aset, okay. Like that's a word I've heard. And I have like associations with the word and like um that are mostly positive for the most part or that again evoke a certain whatever. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use the Fable Makers animated tarot for the second one because I feel like we haven't gotten a deck dungeon challenge or a reward or whatever recently. And again, when I thought I was operating off of 3 decks, I kind of want to use the Star Dragons but at the same time, I kind of don't. Like, there's a few decks that it's like I kind of want to use decks that I haven't really used. Hey, Holly, how you doing? I kind of want to use decks that I haven't really used in a hot minute or ever. See, I should go. I need to go to storage and get some of my decks out. I'm like, where would I put them? Well, I guess that won't necessarily be. It's fine. Cool. Let's just get into it, shall we? Let's not dilly dally or dither anymore. Is this about the full moon, or did we just sort of like see? All right, I'm not necessarily looking for any significators. We'll do two more, and then I'll cut. So the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, and then the third. A card did come out. It's looking like the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords, Cardinal Air. Queen, Cardinal Swords, Air, Libra. So, yeah, I'm looking for my glasses. I mean, she's the Queen of Swords. Well, I guess it's interesting that the Queen of Swords isn't holding the sword. And because I'm using this deck, we see the Queen of Swords. It's like the sword is both at the ready and at rest. So it is something that can kind of go either way. The sword is not a sword that is in hand. Also, there's a specific style to this sword that I'm unfamiliar with. Like I don't like um let's see actually. Yeah, no. Well, no. No, no. It's almost like a katana, but not. And that it's like curved at the tip. Or it ends in a curved um rather than it sort of like ending in the point like that and then it goes down. It like it's curved towards the end. So it's almost giving like a dagger, but like a really long dagger. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Bottom of the deck is I'm like, are you the king? I don't think it's the king. Are you the page or are you the knight of cups? See, but why is there a sword on the cups? See, that's the kind of sword that usually when I see like a king of swords, queen of swords, ace of swords, usually as a sword is depicted, it's this kind of blade. It's not this curved blade. And if I knew more about, I don't know, arms, maybe I would be able to say, well, one's more slashy and the other one can be stabby. I don't know if necessarily know if it matters. I mean, there is a certain geographic, potential geographic association with different kind of blades, like scimitars, right, and so on and so forth. The cards that came out, we have the Eight of Swords was the first, and then the Queen of Cups. We have the Nine of Wands and the Four of Wands. Eight of Swords, Queen of Cups, Nine of Wands, Four of Wands. Now, this Eight of Swords is interesting because, again, we have the sword both upright and in reverse featured prominently. Feels like that's important or thematic. Cool. I don't think there are images in the book. Oh, there are. Okay. So let's go to. It's the Cavalier of Cups, which is the Knight of Cups, right? King, Queen, Cavalier, Prince. Yeah, yeah. So it's Knight of Cups. A romantic, dreamer, performer, musician, and poet, gentle and generous. If betrayed, can be spiteful and vengeful. Deep sleeper, but still a go getter. Needs private time, brings life to a party. Yeah, see, it's not. But why would the Knight of Cups? Ooh, the devil is behind the Knight of Cups. I don't know how I feel about this. Why is this low key given some kind of like. What's a male femme fatale? Like a honey trap type energy. Like one of whichever you either one or both, whichever would sweeten the whatever for you more in this honey trap. Like, because it's like, why is the Knight of Cups brandishing a blade? Now, there are a few reasons why, but we'll leave it as the question. The thing about this is, though, because usually, and I saw when I was shuffling the Fable Makers, the what was it? I know it was the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Swords, the Hierophant. I don't remember the first card, but then it was the Ace of Cups. No, it was the King of Cups. The King of Cups, the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Cups, and then the Hierophant, and the Devil was in reverse. Right? Usually they're chained up, but it's like they've been corrupted, question mark, or they've just like played into whatever those um whatever. you know. And you can still see the influence back there, but they're no longer chained. See, there's like major arcana. So the Seven of Swords, the Emperor, the Wheel of Fortune, the Hermit, And then we have the devil in the Knight of Cups. The Hermit obviously gives some kind of isolation, but like you see the lantern in the devil card, right? And then it's like literally the Hermit is right there. I'm like, oh goodness. We went too deep into the bottom of the deck. Oh, I guess the C is for Cavalier. So with these three, the Wheel of Fortune, the Hermit, and the Devil, this could be like a turn of fortune, isolation, and then someone who maybe falls into a kind of despair, or someone that had been in that despair, or someone who's felt unfavorable turn of fortunes for like a significant enough amount of time, or a significant enough change in fortune that it causes them to develop certain beliefs, right? Or adopt certain patterns or whatever behaviors. And before that, it's the Emperor and the Seven of Swords. Now, we do have a sort of Aries Capricorn thing going here, which is interesting because it's also Jupiter and Saturn. But it's like that horned figure is the Emperor. And you see the eagle with the folds of sunshine or whatever. And again, we were seeing that in the Conservator. The Conservator is also a horned figure, but that one's Capricorn. And there were the people with the golden things painted up on the roof, right? And then we saw in the Scarlet Shield, maybe, and the Archangel Commander, how they both had the thing, and that was the thing last time, right? There's all these characters that have the thing, and so what was protected is sort of given. Again, we see it here. And again, there's like two horned, you get the devil in the background, and even those characters, and you get this emperor. But like you could say one is of light, one is of shadow. For simplicity's sake, it would make it easy. And then with the Seven of Swords before the Emperor, it does introduce a certain element of, it introduces something that feels like entitlement, but it could be like subjective fairness. And it's subjective fairness because it's like, this feels like it's not fair to me because blah, 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 whatever. And this other person, like sometimes we make assumptions about the character, maybe, of another person because we sort of project our own challenges, insecurities, even sometimes strengths or weaknesses. Where it's like if that person had gone through what I had have gone through, then they wouldn't be sitting as an emperor because what I went through is extremely challenging and difficult. And that's why I'm not an emperor, and that's why I have to do this, because I had it so much harder than that person. If they had it as hard as me, then they would be in the same situation. And or if I had it as easy as them, if I had all the resources and the connections and all the whatever that they had, then I would be an emperor too. Like the Seven of Swords introduces that element of one's own perspective or something. Hello. See, there's like more and more and more at the bottom of the deck. Should I keep these? No. Mm. Okay. I kind of wish I could ask Gemini biases. Thank you. But like I'm intrigued. Okay. So in the book here, the major arcana has story plot elements. So I'm gonna read the story plot going backwards, and then I'll read it going forwards, because why not? Only the majors have story plots though. So we have the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Emperor, the Devil, and the Hermit. Like, okay. So going backwards, the devil assumes pleasing appearances as learned here. Seductive, alluring, and all around wicked. These two characters are really one entity that uses whatever tricks necessary to undermine the pure of heart. Ever present to deter the adventurer from seeking their rightful destiny, this dark presence tempts the best of them with fleeting fame and misfortune at a very high price. Amid the checkered floor of false initiation is the distorted, broken mirror of mistruth, and two green false flames of disinformation and corrupt knowledge. Enter if you dare. Oh, I only saw the one flame. I didn't even see the second one. And it's interesting that the flames are green, because green we associate with the heart chakra. And again, there was a question of why is the Knight of Cups brandishing the blade? Again, with that like honey trap energy, it uses the heart as a point of entry. And then we go to the Hermit. The Hermit isn't easily found and must be sought out. Sometimes only by divine intervention will paths cross. He keeps his identity hidden and a secret. He chooses whom and how to advise his unknown. Wait, I'm going to try again. He chooses whom and how to advise his known or unbeknown students, spending most of his time sequestered away in his astrolabe tower studying metaphysical science and biology. He knows things most people never will. He doesn't push an agenda of philosophy. Instead, he shares it when the moment is right, and he teaches through myth or allegory. He appears as quickly as he disappears, coming and going as he pleases. A proficient ceremonial magician and healer is evident by the was scepter he wields. Lady Luck or Fortuna appears as a glamorous showgirl roulette handler, offering various prizes in all of her hands. One is humble humility in the form of a lotus. A golden rudder is another, to steer through the seas of life with ease. Another hand lifts her blindfold, thus cheating and seeing who's before her, and her other hand holds the wheel of fate as it spins eternally, until it's your turn to play and take a chance to find out where it lands. Below the wheel are all the coins of earth that players have lost when waging Fortuna for her blessings, still waiting to be won. And then finally, high above the carnival on the mountain, we find the emperor, looking down on the activities and routines of all the inhabitants below. He is called Jupiter Amun to some and Serapis or Zeus to others. He favors our hero's personal tenacity and bestows rewards on those honorable enough to be forthcoming. With his eagle, messenger Ganymede at his side, and a magical, never ending, fortuitous sack of coins of earth in his hand, fortune favors the bold, and the bold receive accolades and merit for their help. So, this combination, and again, they came out literally right next to each other. There is all of the coins lost, sort of playing against Fortuna, trying to win her blessings. And then the coins of man at the feet, or the coins of earth at the what, but where are they? A magical, never-ending, fortuitous sack of coins of earth in his hand. The coins are in the sack. Oh, it's that little thing. I feel like this also gives the Seven of Swords more context. This plays into the deception of the Seven of Swords. It plays into how the Seven of Swords could be read as deception, but it's not deceptive. Again, it's one's own perception. You would look at the pile of coins here and think there's more to win here than what is within the sack there. And so it would it could entice somebody, and I guess it's a lot about enticement with the devil card here. Someone could be enticed to make the bet here, not knowing that that's an like a never-ending sack. This produces infinitely more than this, but one of them requires um, active participation. One is the emperor, rather than a sort of game of chance. And for some reason, it's like the folds in the tent and the string of lights, like it makes it look like there's a spider web type imagery here behind her. Also, he sits above the carnival and she's like in the carnival, right? Oh, there are two flames here. Two red flames, or at least two. One, two, and then the two green flames. Yeah, I still need to cut my nails. I would cut them, but it's just like sometimes they fly. I don't know if that's TMI, but it's like it gets annoying, right? I wish they would just like drop into the bin or whatever. Maybe I could learn to cut them better. Sometimes it's like they stay in the clipper and I get to just like, other times they shoot off somewhere and it gets annoying. Anyway, that's why I haven't cut them yet. I almost, I use the energy oracle cards because I was going to say I almost want to pull before and after first chakra Archangel Michael and fourth chakra Archangel Raphael, because we do have like this red root versus green heart energy going on, but also again with the I Ching number 20 or 30. I think it was I Ching number 30. Clinging is auspicious if the internal fire burns brighter than whatever external thing we're trying to cling to. This is the internal fire that burns bright. This is trying to cling to something external. And again, the Emperor is an internal energy, the Wheel of Fortune is an external one. Because it, again, like fate and fortune and these greater forces exist outside of us. The Emperor is what we have the ability to take charge of. Deep into the bottom of the deck. Um, should I use these now then? Yeah, I think I will. I feel like we still haven't necessarily gotten into the actual cards that came out, but we're building up the spread. You don't see. That's why I've thought about that. I think I've probably done it like once or twice. Get back to the earth. Oh, okay. I guess we're ready. Oh, of course. The card that came out is attachment. That's literally the I Ching. Is it emotional attachment and clinging? So it's not I Ching number 20. Pretty sure it's I Ching number 30. And I'm using the SKT. So, Book of Maps. Emotional attachment, clinging. You are clinging on emotionally. You hope you can depend or rely on one who you have attached yourself emotionally to. Yet, for the matter at hand, clinging is auspicious. Nurturing and caring for the fertile cow will bring prosperity. Though you cling, do persevere. You must burn with fire from within and not rely on the external burning of fire. The luminous fire must start from within and burn outward. Clinging and emotional attachment is auspicious if the inner fire itself burns bright. So, with that whole, it's giving, clinging, and then for attachment to be the card that comes out. Now, since this is the card we got, and since it's a question, it's not necessarily an answer because we sort of see both between the Emperor and the Wheel of Fortune, and then the Hermit and the Devil. And maybe, because again, full moon Libra, the sun is in Aries, the moon is in Libra. It kind of sort of plays into it, especially with this question of attachment and why the Knight of Cups is brandishing a blade. Like, hello. Also with that honey trap energy. Anyway, 4 plus 5 is 9 plus 7 is 16 plus 3 is 19. So that's the first. And the ninth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Deceit was at the top of the deck. Bottom of the deck here is rest and rejuvenation. Is this number 19? Literally number 19 is at the bottom of the deck. So maybe that's confirmation that, yeah, I was supposed to go to this deck rather than using the Fable Makers. We have number 45, which is literally the 4573, 45. The man holding a heart was the 10th card. The first card was the Temple Path, which is 12. 5 plus 7 is 12. So we kind of sort of get 4, 5, 5, and that is 3. Also, 9 plus 12 is 21, which gives a numerological 3. The first 3 add up to the fourth. And we're using 4x. Anyway, the Temple Path and the man holding a heart. Look at all these lights on the temple path. You see those orbs of light? There's like at least four of them. Three of them that are fully depicted. There's just like a sort of radiance over here. You see the glow over there? Makes me assume there's another. There's one, two, and then a third. Well, I mean, there's a glow right there, and we don't see an orb of light. So maybe that's just like a firefly or something. Bioluminescence. So I ended up putting, because we got four cards, the Temple Path is on top of the Eight of Swords and the Queen of Cups. The man holding a heart is on top of the Nine of Wands and the Four of Wands. Again, attachment came out, and rest and rejuvenation is at the bottom. It feels like what one of the ways you can interpret also that strength, right? Because there was the whole, it feels like a turn of fortune with the Wheel of Fortune. And then there's that hermit sort of double energy. Because rest and rejuvenation is at the bottom of the deck here, and yin yang is also. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I feel like I could just keep going at the bottom of the deck. Door to Spirit, number 32, and the Broken Heart. Broken Heart and Door to Spirit. The whole saying, like, the crack is where the light enters or exits. It's like this broken heart is this like simultaneous some kind of healing, but it's also what? Oh my gosh. It says my connection is unstable. I feel like if this cuts out, I'm just like done. Man, where's my phone? How do I even know if we're still going? It feels like with the door to spirit being open at that broken heart, that is spirit sort of reaching out to us to provide. It looks like I'm buffering. Oh, you can hear me? Okay, thank you. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. When it first opened up, it was like, all right, thank you. So it feels like with the broken heart, that was spirit coming in to provide the healing, the rest and rejuvenation, right? But if the spirits that like healing, for example, if we for some reason seek some kind of like vengeance because we feel like we were wronged, again with that whole like Seven of Swords, Emperor, like if conditions were like that should have been my life type energy, whatever, which take it as it resonates. If it resonates, when it resonates, and if it don't resonate, don't take it. But it feels like the narrative of like destiny swapping was so rampant that it could play into that whole like someone else stole your life or something. They stole your destiny. This ever present sort of whatever thing that is so far beyond the realm of humanity. Yet that rando just came in and stole yours and swapped yours. And it's like in that, if we turn to some kind of like vengeance or like we feel wrong, the spirits that we seek when that door is open may not necessarily be the ones of like healing and rejuvenation. Like that's where that sort of devil energy kind of comes in. It's very opportunistic, but that's what devil energy is, right? Temptation and stuff like that. But it feels like that Wheel of Fortune energy, if it was a pause, it was to allow for this, to allow for the rest and rejuvenation to happen, to allow for healing to take place and occur, to allow for like a mending of that broken heart rather than a continued like fracturing. Because although a certain narrative and certain feelings can like soothe the ego, it doesn't necessarily help the self or the soul. You know what I mean? Especially when the other side of that is the emperor taking charge and control of the things that are for you to take charge and control of, and then you just leave the whole wheel of fortune energy alone, right? You control what you can control, you let go of the things that you can't control, and you just hermit your way and to whatever through whatever is for you. That's what you sort of find and get. Under rest and rejuvenation is yin yang. And it's so interesting because we have action and patience under that. Action, our patience, action, and then yin and yang. In that time, again, it's sort of like action, take charge of the things you can control, and patience, let go of the things that you can't. And it's a balance between these two that give this rest and rejuvenation. It's also interesting. We get 16, 17, 22, and 19. Usually, where we would have the moon card, and this is like, I guess, loosely full moon Libra, where we would have the moon card, we have this yin yang. But you could say that the moon, in and of itself, is symbolic of a yin yang balance because it's light that you get in the nighttime. And the illumination of moonlight does not seek to banish the darkness and dominate the sky, but it also, like, it provides a light that's not swallowed by the darkness either, if that makes sense. Like, there is a balance in that moonlight, a balance between the day and the night. It may not necessarily be the balance that we want or would like, right? Maybe we want it brighter or darker. I don't know. But it's like, and again, it's like it plays into that whole taking charge of like being active in the ways that's for us to be active and then letting go and releasing what's not in our control, what's beyond our control, or what it's not yet time for us to interact and engage with. So the interesting thing about the man holding the heart is it, like, the temple path is the path that's laid out for us. But with the man holding the heart, it's like that's us having control over how we walk that path or how far we take that path, right? Do we give into the rest and rejuvenation, or again, like, kind of like, what spirits do we seek in that pause? What are we hoping to get from fate and fortune? Because it feels like there are some things that may be easier to get than other things, right? If all you want is $2, you can get that in the scratch off pretty easily. It's easier to get $2 from a scratch off than it is to get $2 million or $20,000 or $200,000. You know what I mean? The chances are a lot higher for some things than others, and the cost is different too, right? If you buy one, two, five, $10 scratch off tickets and you win $2, like, but to win $20,000, either you're gonna have to buy a lot more tickets or you're gonna have to buy a really expensive ticket. But at the same time, it only takes one ticket to win. So maybe you don't have to. Maybe it's the one that you go for and you win. Like, your temple path is your temple path. There's no, right. There are people who win the lottery that buy tickets every single day, every single week for years, and there are people who get it on their first ticket. So now, how am I going to do this? The Fatal Makers is huge. It's huge. And I have all the cards and sleeves. So that does add some like one card is sort of negligible. Every single card, it does make it thicker. Thicker, denser. How am I gonna do this? I guess I'll just put it all together. We'll do 5, 4, 3. Oh, we'll stop. So the top, so 1 is the 4 of chalices, and 0, or the bottom, is the Knight of Swords. Oh, look, there's that. Now that's a lot more curved. She's giving more like obviously maybe some kind of scimitar or something like that. Is that a scimitar? Because I feel like I think maybe a shuttle or showtime. I don't know how to pronounce it. That's the like the crescent curvy one. I play video games and the 10 of coins is behind that. We've been seeing the 10 of coins in the SKT a lot, the Dynasty. We actually saw it in both versions of the deck last time. We got 2 cards that came out, the 3 of Swords and the King of Wands. And again, it feels like the 3 of Swords and the King of Wands. The 3 of Swords is the source of the power for the king, is the source of power for the King of Wands. And again, it plays into that heartbreak. The broken heart that opened the door to spirit, the spirits that seek us and the spirits that we seek. Did that rest and rejuvenation healing happen to give the King of Wands renewed well to draw from? Or did the stagnancy, the rot, the whatever just deepen? You know, they say hurt people and heal people type energy. Right. And with the dynasty, or with the 10 of Pentacles energy at the bottom of the deck, it also plays into like a perpetuation of maybe inherited responses and behaviors or what was in one's environment growing up, like familial patterns. Or does it like create a new legacy? Does it uphold the legacy and continue what has been inherited, or does it create a new one? And legacies run both positive and negative to various degrees, right? These are our challenges. I still need a 4th deck. I could go for like a Whispers of Lord Ganesha type. Wait, let me put these on the table because these actually came out. So the Queen of Swords attachment, and then the 3 of Swords and the King of Wands. These are the cards that have come out. falling out. Mm, mm. See, what I like about the whispers of Lord Ganesha is, especially because like there's this door to spirit energy. There's a chance for restoration, rejuvenation, healing, where there was a break, probably an undesired one, because it's like the three of it was heartbreak. We see the three of swords, and also like the wheel of fortune was there, and like heartbreak doesn't even necessarily have to be painful, or it doesn't have to be like negative. It doesn't have to precipitate from like friends, right? Someone could get something that they want, and in that instance be triggered and have to face all of these things that may have kept them from accepting it in the past, or that may have led them to think that it's impossible in the past, right? Your heart can break in like, or rather than like a heartbreak where your heart is broken open because of something painful, like your heart can break in a positive, like you could be so overwhelmed by positive emotion that you just like crack open, you know what I mean? Kind of not necessarily like they love me, they really love me. When you didn't think anyone, like when you finally make it and you're on the stage and you're accepting your award or whatever, you know what I mean? That can also break the heart, but in a more like positive connotation and way, right? And again, in that case and scenario, what spirits do you reach out to? Do you reach out to spirits of gratitude and appreciation? Or does that become the point where someone really seeks like fame? And now it's like they turn from this, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, to this like entitled whatever. It's like they get corrupted by the Hollywood machine type energy, right? He's like, do you know who I am? Anyway, it can go either way. Just like dynasty and inheritance can go anyway. It can be positive, it can be negative. It's like that, and that almost like you could lump all of that into the Wheel of Fortune because we don't necessarily choose. Some of us believe necessarily choose the families that we're born into. Some of us think we do before we incarnate. Either way, regardless of if you choose or not, you can't necessarily dictate and determine the choices and behaviors of others around you. And again, it's like that gets lumped into the Wheel of Fortune because we, even if we choose it, we can't control it. How about that? It's interesting to see the Four of Cups here because I think, was it Aries season where we saw the Four of Cups and the Four of Pentacles? And there was the thing that was being given that we didn't want to receive, and the thing that we wanted to receive that wasn't being given. Right? It was someone like the Ace of Pentacles, but the Ace of Cups is what was being offered. And it's interesting because, again, we saw that Four of Pentacles, the conservator, that which must be protected. But with the Emperor, again, the condition for inheritance has been fulfilled. It has been raining like every day. It seems like I was almost like walking. I would have went walking today, but I was like, is it gonna rain? And Google was like, it's raining all day. I was like, oh man. Oh snap. Hey Janelle, how's it going? Because it's like, and see, this is where I feel like I, as the reader as the person who is presenting whatever, I can do a better job. Like, if we follow the energy, like I've given a whole bunch of, I mean, honestly, when we saw like the Emperor, the Wheel of Fortune, the Hermit, and the Devil, that was like, it can go either way. Honestly, with the question of why is the Knight of Cups holding the sword, and then you see the Devil behind it, and then you see the Hermit behind it, and then you see the Wheel of Fortune behind it, and then the Emperor and the Seven of Swords. But as we dug deeper into it, we saw rest and rejuvenation. We see the temple path with the man holding a heart, and the heart that the man is holding is healed and whole. There's no crack on that heart. The energy says this Ace of Cups that is being presented will be received. But catering to the anyone or the in the spirit of like take it as it resonates, or maybe just in the spirit of like we still have to receive, or we still have to take the Ace of Cups that's being offered. Okay, again, we saw the Emperor, but it very much so reads more contextually. Again, the energy of I Ching number 30 came up, and then we see attachment. Emotional attachment, clinging is auspicious if the internal fire burns bright. Also, if we take this Three of Swords to be a healed heart, and even like, even though it's punctured, it's not cracked, right? It's not bleeding. There's no blood that is like dripping down these swords. And then here's like all of this sort of fire swirling around the King of Wands. The internal fire from within burns bright. So if we follow the cards and the energy, if this resonates, take it as it resonates when it resonates. If it don't resonate, don't take it. But energetically, it feels like it reads like the Ace of Cups is going to be actually like taken. And again, I saw the Ace of Cups. We've been seeing the Ace of Cups a lot lately, specifically in like the SKT, right? But we also saw symbolically the Ace of Cups in Dissolution in the Wild Unknown Alchemy. And that deck, the dove was like descending sort of headfirst into the cup, but with the Ace of Cups, the purifying, it was like descending, like, you know, how we usually see a dove descending. Even in the Judgment card, when a dove is depicted in the Judgment card, it descends like it did in the Ace of Cups. Again, but because we've been seeing the Ace of Cups, and this one came off of the Temple Path. Oops. Maybe you get to the top, or maybe on the way up to, on the way up the Temple Path, maybe you're resting because there's a lot of steps, or it's steep, or the oxygen is thin, or whatever, and then that cup is offered. See, what's interesting about this is there's an energy there. And with the Knight of Swords is one of arguably, it is inarguably, I mean, you can always argue, one of the fastest knights in the deck, but I feel like sometimes faster because you see like that horse, you know, see how fast that is, but Knight of Swords. So you're gonna see air featured dramatically and prominently in the Knight of Swords than you would in like the Knight of Wands. So regardless, it does feel like there's a sort of premature energy here because wherever this Four of Cups is resting, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's like in the temple, right? Even if you take this, is that like almost like a yin yang? Okay, well, it's given more so like a labyrinth type thing than a yin yang, but it swirls like a yin yang. Anyway, it's like if we look at the image, there's the temple right there. Like this Four of Cups is resting right outside the temple. Usually, we would think that whatever this Ace of Cups is, you wouldn't get it until you complete the journey. This is the temple, but this is being offered as one rests along the path. So, because of that, and with the Knight of Swords here, can y'all hear the thunder? Because of that, and with the Knight of Swords here, it does feel like maybe someone's fortune changes before they think it would. It feels like again the cup is being offered before the journey is complete. Now that can go either way. Sometimes there are things that we feel we have to accomplish, or there's a spot that we feel we have to reach to feel worthy or deserving of whatever. Sometimes it's just what we think we have to do. And it's not necessarily a question of like worth. Sometimes it's a question of worth. Um, and it feels like again, and with this Knight of Swords, the Knight of Swords is also a card that's been sort of coming up kind of a lot. And it's come up, and I feel like both of the ways it can be read. It's come up in terms of like the Knight of Swords doesn't know everything. And so sometimes it can be a little hasty. Haste makes waste. Sometimes the Knight of Swords can jump to conclusions before it has enough information to realize that what it thinks there may be reason to question it. Sometimes the Knight of Swords has come out as you know enough of what you need to know to start moving. And you don't necessarily have to allow the unknown to like bring you hesitancy or pause, especially if you're open to, you know, the flow of information. I still don't know what fourth car or what fourth deck I want to go for. Um, in terms of decks that I haven't, because again, I don't know. Maybe we just leave it. Maybe there is no fourth deck. Maybe if you have a deck of cards, I don't know, you give it a shuffle and pull one card, or pull the top after you give it a shuffle, or just, I don't know. I feel like we kind of started in the Libra of it all, and now we're sort of like getting into the Aries, where it's like, okay, this is the environment. This is what you've been through. These are external factors, right? That could have influenced someone one way or another. But now it's like, what path will you choose? What will you do? How will you move? Both in context with your environment and surroundings, but also in ways that are more individually inspired and motivated. Individual inspiration and motivation has been like featured a lot, especially in that intensive versus extensive slash colligative sort of energy, as we've been seeing the Luminous Warrior. But even as we've seen the Luminous Warrior, sometimes the Luminous Warrior is like, kind of like the story of that hermit a little bit. Sometimes the Luminous Warrior goes against the grain. Sometimes the Luminous Warrior like gets in the fold or whatever. Any deck that starts with an S. Let's see. I mean, I have the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. That's the only deck I can think of. but I was feeling more of like an or. I don't know if I have any oracle decks that start with an S. Let's. I have this something, but that's tarot again. I have the In Dreams Oracle deck. I feel like I've used it recently. Oh, number 20 though. And when I opened the SKT, it was still on I Ching number 20. Sure. Let's do this. It caught my eye. It caught my eye. Excuse me. And I feel like the In Dream Oracle is like nebulous enough to feel right. Because I don't necessarily want. I don't know. That's why it's like. I don't know if it's the Pisces in me, or maybe it's just me as a person. Sometimes it's like I don't. It's like I want something that I can pull that's also like nebulous. That's where the meaning isn't necessarily like locked or set. Especially in the take it as it resonates of it all. It could resonate differently for different people. Or something archetypal can be really good because an archetype has many manifestations and many like nuances and twists and different ways that they can show up. All right. Should I pull before and after number one? No. I mean, I could. Well. There's a card that falls. Number 26. So we'll pull off the top because it's card number one. And it's number 10. And it's a butterfly. I love that it's number 10 because 10 was the recent one. Bottom of the deck is number 24. What's 26 say? 28, 27, 23, 24, 26. Perceive, learn, be aware, fire action. Get ready to be influenced by a strong individual. Start learning. Learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. Chinese proverb. I did mention that this, I was feeling like, what played into the energy of that hermit? I've already forgotten. I've already forgotten. An interpretive dance oracle. Oh. Oh. I don't know why when I was looking at this, it looked like some kind of like instrument. This is a lion, obviously. And like, look at that. I love noting the relationship between the lady and the lion in any strength card that I see. And this is fire action. And strength is Leo. But like I love this dynamic. And it's also interesting because we saw the tamed lion twice. There was the one tamed lion that was incapable of a certain initiation. And then there was the other tamed lion that was. Also, it was the whole journey of the hermit, right? Sometimes, more often than not, the hermit starts its journey using the light of a hierophant. But at a certain point, as the hermit develops their own relationship with the divine, they change trade. They have the opportunity or the chance to trade out the light of the hermit or the light of the hierophant for their own light or for a divinely bestowed light. The flames of truth that we saw in the hermit card rather than the flames of desire that we saw in the devil card. Number 10. is renew, fire, and action. So both belong to the element of fire. Destroy your patterns, act unexpectedly, change your situation. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. A quote by Mark Twain. Destroy your patterns, act unexpectedly, change your situation. I feel like that pretty much see, but it feels like there is a need for discernment there because I think sometimes it can be easy to like for us to destroy our patterns just for the sake of like shaking things up. Do something different, something that you've never done, because doing the same thing and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And it feels like there can be a trap of like inserting random chaos into one's life. And not necessarily for a good reason. How do I say it? Like there's a certain intentionality that you can bring to pattern disruption, right? Let's say, for example, that you want to meet new people, but your habits and patterns don't create opportunities to meet new people. So you breaking the pattern was if someone invites you to something, maybe you say yes instead of saying no, right? That it's like there's a way to intentionally break that pattern to create or accept opportunities to get the change that you want to see, right? But if you want to meet new people and instead of getting bounty paper towels, you get Scott or whatever, it's like, yeah, you broke the pattern of the kitchen roll for the paper towels that you get, but it's like how does that disruption and the wheel of fortune of it all, of course, if you reach for a different paper towel, you could have a meet cute at the wherever you get your paper towels. Like, oh yeah, I usually get the other brand, but I thought I'd try this. And the person's like, yeah, I really love this brand. It's 50%. Like when they say 50% more absorbent than other brands, they mean it. Cause whew, obviously there's an opportunity for that to happen. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is sometimes we do things for the sake of doing it or to make ourselves feel like we're fulfilling certain kind of conditions, but we're not necessarily doing it in an environment or in a way where it's actually beneficial. And of course, there are things that like you work yourself up to. Always listen to your intuition and discernment. Maybe it's more so like if your intuition and discernment is telling you, hey, like this is a person that you have a really good feeling about, you feel you can trust them. This is me, your intuition discernment validating that you can trust them. I know this is like an area where you kind of want to move slow. If this person invites you environment where you can like do whatever. It's almost like our intuition and discernment can tell us where to break those patterns. But if we don't do it's like we can try to do something else as a replacement. Like my intuition and discernment is telling me to say yes, where I would usually say no. I don't feel like I can say yes right now, but what I can do is get a different paper towel. Now, if you getting a different paper towel eventually leads to you saying yes to something that you usually say no to, then it's a part of the temple path. It's a part of your journey as you work your way towards being able to say yes. And sometimes those are like the paths and the roads that we have to take to get where we're going. And if that's the case, then that's fine because that puts us on the path, or that's us like making our way towards the direction that our intuition and discernment is telling us to go in. But it's like it's also possible to just completely continue to veer off and off and off and off and off and further and further and further away from the thing that our intuition, discernment, the divine is telling us, like, hey, this is the direction generally you should be heading in. And that's more so the point of caution, right? Because again, that could be us not accepting that Ace of Cups, the Ace of Cups that's being offered. But again, of course, there are more comfortable ways where we can break habits and patterns. Like I usually do this, and I instead of doing that, and I usually do that, and instead of doing this, and then we're frustrated because we're doing the unexpected to us. We're breaking our patterns. We're doing this and we're doing that, but it's not what our intuition discernment tells us to do. It's not following that internal compass that will lead us in the direction that we want to go. And you could say it takes us more and more and more into the realm of like that devil energy, where then we become jaded because after however much time we're still not doing. It's like we're doing what our intuition and discernment told us to do by breaking patterns, but not in the way that it's telling us to do where it would actually be beneficial. And it's possible for us to position ourselves in where that strong individual that comes into our life isn't us. And in that case, that would be clinging to an external fire and relying upon the burning of that fire to stay warm rather than adding more and more kindling to our internal fire that gets our internal fire to burn brighter and brighter. So I don't know. I don't know if I patricked it all up at the end. But again, I feel like sometimes it can be really easy to for us to like sort of like what is like I feel like there's a phrase that's coming to my mind. Like we get into the motion of something, but we're not necessarily going in the direction that we're being led to. Get ready to be influenced by a strong individual. Start learning. Learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere, right? That strong individual could be you, could be the next version, next iteration of you. It's giving an almost siren like energy. But again, is it a siren of what like our destiny is calling us to, or is it a siren based off of our desire? If we desire comfortability and safety more so than it's almost like trading long term. I don't even know what the word is. Like trading long term abundance for short term comfort type energy. Like there's a way to be infinitely more comfortable and like happy and be like thriving with like taking that temple path, but also we can shortcut that and circumvent that by like choosing more comfort and like taking the easy way out now, right? And then we could potentially end up jaded in that situation where it's like again you sort of like start to compare like I've been breaking patterns and habits and like the wheel of fortune still hasn't turned in my favor and blah 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 blah. Anyway, you get it. It's also interesting that the butterfly is here because usually we see butterflies accompanying the Queen of Swords. And I mentioned that last time because I used the Good Tarot and the Queen of Earth came out. And in the Good Tarot, the butterfly is on the Queen of Earth and the Queen of Swords, Queen of Air, has an owl. There's her symbol, but they're like separate. Cool. I feel like I did all this like reading and I that came out. The 8 of Swords, the Queen of Cups. So, especially after all that, the 8 of Swords and the Queen of Cups could be the internal, not battle or struggle. The 8 of Swords, it's the things that we don't see and can't see. And it's a type of unknown that inspires fear, usually by some kind of paralysis, right? Or it could be like we're waiting for more information to decide. I need more information to decide. When your intuition and discernment is telling you, hey, and then again, you have that 8 of Swords, the things that we can't see right next to the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is like pre high priestess. She's the intuitive queen. So it's not necessarily for the Queen of Cups to rely on her sight. You can blindfold the Queen of Cups and it doesn't matter because she doesn't navigate life using her eyes and her brain. She navigates life using her intuition and her heart. The things that the divine sort of imparts to her, tells to her, communicates to and with her that her eyes haven't necessarily seen yet. And you could say it is the temple path of the Queen of Cups to, in a certain way, be blind because she doesn't navigate using her eyes. Again, she uses her intuition and discernment. Now, on the other side, we have the Nine of Wands and the Four of Wands. To see the Nine of Wands and the Four of Wands, especially with the man holding the heart, with the context of the broken heart in the past, the Nine of Wands is a card of like, you could say it's like being at a threshold. You could say it's a card of like keeping oneself at a threshold because I don't want to say the terrology, what I understand of the depiction of the Nine of Wands is it's a figure that's usually like holding a line, but it's holding a line like after the battle is ended. So it's like there's no reason for the Nine of Wands to stay where it is, to continue. And you'll see the Nine of Wands in various states of injury. Sometimes they're battered, bruised, barely holding on. Sometimes they're standing triumphant. And it's like they could keep going. But in a way, it is a card again of like keeping oneself at a boundary that you don't necessarily need to. And then the Four of Wands being that card of like minor Wheel of Fortune. Oh, because we saw the major Wheel of Fortune. It's like minor Wheel of Fortune, minor world card. It's like celebrations and milestones, achievements, right? It's like when you get married, but there's still the whole like it's like the wedding ceremony, but you still have your whole like married wed life after that. So it's like this in between your single life and your married life. And it is like a major conclusion of one, but it's also the very beginning of another. It's usually more minor world for me than Wheel of Fortune, but apparently today it has certain Wheel of Fortune elements. And that's what the man holding the heart. Excuse me. So again, when it comes to attachment, do we keep holding the line? Do we keep ourselves in a position where we are liable to be more and more battered and bruised and stuff like that? Or do we sort of accept the outcome, the call that like the battle is over? Do we let that mending, rest, rejuvenation, healing happen? Or do we like continue to carry the hurt in a way? Right. And then with the Four of Wands, just like we saw the Three of Swords and the King of Wands, it's kind of like that's what we marry ourselves to. Right. Cool. So there you go. Oh, it's not a deck that starts with the letter S, but again, there is a strength, and that starts with S. Symbolism here with this card. So there you go. There's your S, Holly. Cool. It's also interesting that because there was a question here of why is the Knight of Cups brandishing a sword, but we have the man holding a heart and the Knight of Swords. Swords can also be communication. Words can hurt or heal, also, right? Cool. I mean, it feels like that's pretty much it, right? Also, from the Nine of Wands to the Four of Wands, not only do you zoom in, so it's like you step into the card, just like you would step closer to the temple in this temple path, right? Like if you step closer to the temple, if you step into the Nine of Wands, but remove that blockage, remove that crossing wand, you would get the Four of Wands. And there's no wand to like be the what's that word? Like if you have cogs and you like jam something into it so they can't move, you like unjam the thing so that your story can progress type energy, right? Almost like the mouse that removes the thorn from the lion's paw. I'm not going to go looking before and after mice or the mouse in a Lenormand deck because I've already pulled all the cards that we're going to, right? And the mouse pulling the thorn from the lion's paw was a disruption sort of in the pattern. Break your patterns, right? Usually the lion would eat the mouse. And because lions eat mice, usually the mouse would, at the very least, avoid the injured lion. But the mouse, and I don't know if this is like bordering on it almost without getting like fully into it. It almost does touch on that energy of like theurgic rights and stuff like that. The mouse decides to help the lion, even knowing that after the mouse removes the thorn, like the lion could immediately either A, it could immediately snatch and eat the mouse after the thorn is removed, or B, like it's just a thorn in the paw. So that's not even necessarily stopping the lion from eating the mouse before the thorn is removed. But it's like, regardless of what the dynamic and the story and the narrative has been, the mouse takes an action that completely changes that dynamic so that even when the lion is healed, it still doesn't eat the mouse. It turns what was a predator prey combative relationship into one of like collaboration, right? And again, like that is a pattern that was broken in a way that like it's broken in a way in and of itself that shifts things towards a different direction that you would assume the mouse would want, right? You would assume the mouse doesn't want to be eaten by the lion. And anyone could have come and removed the thorn. If anyone else or anything else did, then the dynamic would have remained the same. Right. Anyway. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. How does this play into the full moon Libra that we had 2 days ago? Eh, it doesn't necessarily have to be that in particular. But again, even the full moon in and of itself is a manifestation of balance. You get light in the darkness. You could argue like the most light that you're gonna get, you get it with the full moon. And if we go back to the sugar of the wild unknown alchemy, like a full moon is natural light. Like people have been naturally afraid of the dark for very good reason for a very long time. And the full moon could have been one of those times where it's like it's not as scary because the moon is full and bright and it illuminates a lot more. But after we started making like street lights and I mean, I guess there were like candles and stuff before street lights and fluorescent lights and electric man-made illumination. Um, the moon like used to do that. So again, it's like that natural balance, and maybe one that we in some way crave. I didn't even read the challenges. The challenge, the deck dungeon challenge of the Four of Cups is one of identification, using either perception or investigation, using either one's intuition or logic, finding the correct chalice, the one out of four, that when completely imbibed gives that silver key. And it's interesting that it gives a key because usually in the devil card, we see the man and the woman chained up. So the key that is one in this Four of Cups could be the key to liberate someone from their manacles where they break the devil's control over them. Right. And it's a silver key. Silver key being like the moon. When the Hierophant has the two keys, the key of silver and the key of gold, the two keys to the kingdom or whatever, the silver one is usually associated with the moon. And again, full moon energy. So makes sense. The Knight of Swords, though, I have to look that one up because I don't remember. I think it gives the horseshoes of the Zephyr that allows one to traverse any kind of terrain. Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is engrossed in figuring out a puzzle box. The knight will open the door if she can be persuaded to put down the box for even a moment. However, she is obsessive and reacts aggressively if intimidated. The puzzle can be solved for the knight with a successful DC 18 intelligence investigation check, opening the box to reveal a set of horseshoes of a Zephyr, which she gladly offers as a gift. So it's like she doesn't even care about the thing inside the puzzle box. She just wants to solve the puzzle. It's interesting that it's an investigation check because one way it could be investigation is it's like it's almost like upon investigation, you may be able to identify that like this puzzle box is like another, right? Maybe at first it's just like this really complex puzzle box, but upon investigation, you may see that it's kind of like a Rubik's cube, right? Where maybe instead of like solid colors on each side, maybe each side is a different kind of image, right? And looking at it, you can like kind of sort of figure out which face, kind of like a puzzle or pieces of a puzzle, which face would have like a certain image or which pieces of the image would sort of come together to create a certain face, right? And if you're someone that knows the algorithm to solve a Rubik's cube, then it would be easy, right? So it feels like that's the one kind of investigation where you realize it's like something else. It's different, but theoretically the same. And you can solve it the same way you would solve the other thing. Or investigation could just like reveal the answer, regardless if it's like something that you've seen or not. It is interesting though that both of these challenges can be solved by an intelligence check. Because again, with the chalices, you can use either intelligence or wisdom, perception or investigation. I think it's not a DC 18 though. For the four of chalices, it's a DC 12. So a DC 18 is a 90% chance of failure because you got to get 18, 19, or 20. Well, I guess that's like 3 out of 20. You got to meet it or beat it, right? So 3 divided by 20. So it's an 85% chance of failure. And then if you do 12, which should be 9, because 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, so 9. 9 divided by 20, there's like a 55% chance of failure. Obviously, you could say that if you successfully pass the DC 18 puzzle box check, it's like would be relatively easy to also pass the DC 12 check for the chalice. Just that in and of itself, it's like sort of killing two birds with one stone. I can't think of another saying. And it's funny because when I was looking at the sack of the emperor with the pile of gold and the wheel of fortune, the phrase "a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush" did come to mind. Like the emperor is the bird in the hand because you can just get the sack of coins. The wheel of fortune is the two in the bush, right? You potentially get a lot more coins if you spin fortune's wheel, try to deceive Fortuna out of her own, I don't know, blessings or whatever. But the bird in the hand is like a never-ending source of gold. So even if you win Fortune's blessing, it's going to be less than you'd get from the emperor. But the bag looks a lot smaller than the pile of coins, so you wouldn't assume that you get more. But there's also different denominations. That's the word, right? Of currency. So, for example, you can get like 100 pennies, or you could get 10 $1 bills. And that's like $1 versus $10, let alone 100 pennies versus $100 bill. Wait, that's the same. No, it's not. It's not. Because that's $1 to $100, right? You could be comparing copper coins to like platinum. You know what I mean? Denomination, currency. That's the word I want, right? A denomination in money is the specific face value of a coin, banknote, or bond. Yep, there we go. Denomination, currency. Bup, bup, bup. It could be a different denomination. And it's interesting because, again, that would sort of play on perception. And perception is the wisdom modifier. Wisdom is perception, intelligence is investigation. But it also, we've seen the yin yang card. Because we've seen the yin yang card, it can be both. Cool. Also, that's interesting because first at the bottom of the deck, again, we saw the Knight of Cups that had the sword and the cup. We have the Four of Cups and the Knight of Swords here, and even here, the first two cards, the Eight of Swords and the Queen of Cups. Because of that, even with this Queen of Swords, we see the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups. With the Queen of Swords, the butterfly being like the symbol being separate from the Queen, also with her sword not only both upright and in reverse, but not in the hand. With this interplay between the Emperor and the Wheel of Fortune, even with that butterfly, like breaking habits and patterns and cycles, but breaking the right ones or breaking them in the right way. With the Temple Path and the man holding the heart, Temple Path has both an air and water sort of feel to it. It feels like there's more to be gained, or there's something extra to be gained by using both, or by using the proper one in the right situation and scenario. Anyway, it's a puzzle that it's also interesting that the challenge was like it's a puzzle that the Knight of Swords is obsessed with. And if you can persuade her solve it for her, you pass and you get the prize inside. But if you can just persuade her to put it down for a moment, you'll pass. And again, it's interesting. It's with this Nine of Wands, Four of Wands, and it preceded that whole like heartbreak door to spirit with that obsession over something, right? With how the Wheel of Fortune turned. If you can let the obsession go for the rest of rejuvenation to happen, if the spirits that you're reaching out to are ones of healing and restoration, that's what you're going to get. But it's almost like it doesn't matter if the divine is extending grace and healing if that's not what you're reaching for. Is it the flame of truth or the flame of desire? Right between the hermit and the devil. Anyway, yeah. Interesting how even here, and again, you can use intuition or logic, perception or investigation. And we literally see that came off of the Eight of Swords and the Queen of Cups, where the Queen of Cups doesn't operate like you can blindfold the Queen of Cups and it wouldn't impact her at all because she doesn't navigate and operate using her eyesight. She navigates by intuition, the same intuition that will tell her which cup to choose to get that silver key to free herself from whatever she was potentially obsessed with and clinging to with that attachment. Cool. Love how those sort of like came out. Big like spring cleaning type energy. Do I have even like a sip? All I have is melted ice. Cool. See, every now and then, even if I don't necessarily connect to it, when they're like, use me, or when it's like, I think I can use you today. I feel like I can use you today. Hey, it ends one way or another, more or less. Ooh, we just got a smooth flip. Who is it? Hello? I saw blue. It is the Five of Cups. The pips in this deck are really pippy. The bottom of the deck is the Magician, but I love what's written on this Magician card. And I love that, like, you only see the sword. You also see, like, water, I guess, and clouds, which are the air. and this roughly globe shape. Like there's this blue wavy water imagery. Well, if the clouds are air, we already have a sword. The only tool you clearly see is the sword. Fortune favors the bold. That's the card that's on here. And again, we already had that sort of fortune favors the bold type energy with the Emperor and the Wheel of Fortune. But also with this sort of strength energy, bring the bold isn't necessarily in this case the one that's bold enough to try to it's not necessarily the one that's bold enough to spin the wheel and play fortune's game, because as it was sort of as it came out today, it's more or less a losing game, and or more or less not necessarily a time to just whatever. It's maybe more so a time to do what is for you to do and to release what you have no control over. Again, the sun is in Aries right now. The moon is in Libra. There's still a balance and there's still an interplay between the two. But it's like the bold action is the one that is within one's power to sort of like make. And just trust that, things will sort of work out. And again, we see the sword, that same sword that was floating in that Queen of Swords. The tower is behind that fortune favors the bold magician energy. With the Five of Cups here, the Five of Cups is usually a card of grief, right? Even here, two cups. No, usually it's three cups that have spilled and two cups that are left upright. Here, only two cups have spilled. Only two cups are in reverse. Three cups are upright. So it's also giving like a point where one can stop. It plays into the energy being offered while one is resting along the temple path. But it's also like there are so many stories where someone makes a bet, right? Takes a gamble with that Wheel of Fortune energy and they lose. And then they lose some more. And it's like you still have something left to lose. Do you want to stop now or do you want to keep testing your luck? If you stop now, although you've lost, you can still walk away with 60% of what you came in with. Again, there's a chance you can win a lot more because there's a chance. There's a chance. It's advertised at the very least that you could win a lot more, or you could walk away with what you have. And this is kind of sort of like making that bold choice to walk away with what you have. Three cups upright, two in reverse. Or you can make the even bolder choice and continue to bet it all, end up in debt, and now you've wagered things that you really shouldn't have wagered because you may have potentially lost. So, yeah, she is sort of low key given that energy. Seven of Swords again because I have to split this deck in half. As I put it away. Wow, that's like a pretty even split. I'm proud of myself. See, it's like one of these types of situations. Anyway, I'll show you the title if you want. It's just like I feel like if I say the Offset Romani Tarot, because I don't want to say the G word, I feel like you can put two and two together. This is the deck. Why did I get it? I don't know. I don't know. I think I was looking for a little bit more color and a little bit more like cultural variety almost in a way. And I think I actually got this one before the African American tarot because I don't think I had seen it yet. And like on the box, I was like, oh, why not? But anyway, she worked today, so hey, let's do this one next. Mamma mia. Oh, goodness. Ooh. The card that came out is number 41. Do what you must and come what may. And it's, again, very much so that energy. Bottom of the deck is this card that I don't like bent cards because it's like folded corners in a book. You know what I mean? And I just like accidentally like, can you see all the folds? Let's see. You see all that? That breaks my heart. And it's like the one card that just like I don't know if I was shuffling too rough or what. Bottom of the deck is number 36. It's interesting. So we saw the man holding a heart, right? We saw both the masculine and feminine figure in that devil card. We saw the man holding a heart, and now it's like we see the woman with the rose, where they're like both liberated and free. Do what you must and come what may. Maybe this speaks to a certain peace that one has within oneself. Also, we saw the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Hearts. Maybe that's an integrated, we love an integrated queen type energy. You know what I mean? What number is she? Number 36. 36, dream of earth in the material world. Talk about your dreams. The past cannot be changed. The future is yet in your power. It's a quote by Mary Pickford. Again, look at that. You see number 36, dream. The past cannot be changed. The future is yet in your power. Do what you must and come what may. Love that energy. Cool. And maybe that talk about your dreams is also like while you are doing the things that you need to do, like in reality, or while you are pursuing maybe a certain level of stability, if you're not yet at the point of thriving and you're trying to survive, like, yes, of course, do that, but also like talk about your dreams. Like, because I feel like sometimes it can be easy for us to get stuck in survival mode or doing the things that we need to do to the point where we become blind to the things that we want, right? Like if something like this is something that I'm doing on the path to doing something else, just like with the example of the 10, the butterfly, right? Sometimes there are things that we feel we have to do to get more comfortable doing the things that we know we need to, right? Like I'm this week I'm gonna switch up my um paper towels. Like when I go into the grocery store for the things like if there are brands that I always buy for things that don't really matter, like I'm gonna switch it up, right? Instead of getting Bounty, I'm gonna get that's is that Scott? I feel like I'm seeing two different versions of Bounty. Because there's the Bounty with like the lumberjack, but then there's the Bounty where it's like just the colors. I don't know. Anyway, it's like this week I'm gonna switch that up. And next week instead of taking this path, I'm going to take that path. Or instead of like walking in this park, I'm going to go to another park. And then, like, the week after that, instead of doing this, I'm going to do that. And eventually, I'm going to work up to doing whatever my intuition and discernment is telling me I need to do. Right? It's like, keep that in mind as we're doing the other thing. Otherwise, It's like we can get stuck in the like, I've been getting this different paper towel for like 2 years now and nothing has happened. Like, again, it was meant to be a stepping stone on the way to something greater. And like, gratitude does not have to be the enemy of like progression or dreams and dreaming, right? I think sometimes when it comes to progress and progression, there is a certain way of approaching it where it's like, always seeking something better and never necessarily being satisfied. And when it comes to gratitude, sometimes we can fall into a sort of stagnancy where we become so engrossed in the practice of gratitude that we stop striving for more. And again, they don't have to be antagonistic to one another. You can be grateful for the things that you have and still strive for the things that are yet to be had. You can be grateful for where you are and like what you've come through and for whatever, and still continue on your path, right? Victory and the woman holding a coin at the cut. The man is holding a heart, the woman's holding a coin. You're holding a heart, I'm holding a coin. We are not the same. You're chasing peace, I'm chasing a bag. We are not the same. It's fine. What was that? It's, yeah, anyway. And it is interesting that that was the woman holding a coin because the woman that we saw, she was the woman of earth, which was like the material world. So, and maybe the broken heart and the second chakra archangel Ariel. Um, maybe it's just time for a little not role reversal, but it's time for a different expression of balance, right? Maybe the man that's usually obsessed with the coin ventures into the heart, while the woman that's usually so, what do you call it? Like when someone has to be something because otherwise it would fall apart. Like usually she's like that with the heart, but because the man is holding the heart now, she can like look at the coin. It gives very much so the energy of a couple that's like, I'm gonna do this while you chase your dream. And then after your dream comes true, then I can chase my dream type energy. Like I know Tabitha Brown and her husband did it in this one show that's on Netflix that's like really popular. Um, there was a couple that had the same arrangement, but they weren't able to complete it because something happened to one of them before they could like make the switch. But it's almost also giving that energy, right? The woman was holding the heart while the man was holding the coin, and now that the man is holding the coin, now that the man is holding the heart, the woman can hold the coin, right? So maybe it's not as, you know, extreme as that flippant comment made it. Okay. The thinking woman and action. Ooh, why is this given? Why is this given what it could be given? Hopefully, it's not given what it could be given. Um, because the man is holding the heart now, and the woman is holding the coin. We're gonna stay on that narrative thread, and we're gonna leave the snapped tangent alone. Maybe the woman in this dynamic, and it can be like internally, again, it could just be the things that you need to do and then the things that you want to do, right? So the switch could be now that you've done what you need to do and you're in a decently stable situation, now you can pursue the things that you want to do again. It's like this whole, not the whole time, but as the woman has been holding the heart, she's been coming up with a plan. And now it's time for her to put that plan into action. 47 and 17, which is a difference of 30, eaching number 30, again, is emotional attachment and clinging. And again, in the I Ching, clinging is auspicious if the fire from within burns bright. So that compromise that may not work for somebody, it works here because both parties honor that. And it's like just as the man is now holding the heart and is honoring that, so too does the woman have to pick up the coin. It is time to act on the things that you've been planning. If you don't act, then if the thinking woman doesn't act, then she now becomes the sort of like source of imbalance in the thing. And it can be a big sort of deal. And it can be scary and intimidating. Like to be the person who was the support to now be the one that is being supported. It can, again, be scary, but it is time for her to put her plan into action. And again, let me mind my business. I don't encourage and endorse things that I don't encourage and endorse, but also at the same time, I will never be the person to tell the oppressed and the abused and the whatever how to navigate their lives because, girl, I'm not living it for one. And again, that's that. This is this. In this case, where the man is now holding the heart, it is time for the woman to hold the coin. It is the opportunity, it is the time to put that plan into action, to go beyond surviving and to enter the domain of thriving. You did what you needed to do for as long as you needed to do it. Now it's time to do what you want. Bottom of the deck, second chakra, Archangel Ariel again. That plan that the thinking woman has been coming up with, the thing that she wants to create and birth into the world, now it's time for action. It's time to give birth to it. It's time to create. It's time to do the darn thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, like I said earlier, I've been watching all kinds of movies, like The Invisible Woman, The Invisible Man, um, was one. There was another one. That plot line is not here. Also, at the same time, I say what I see. Um, I think sometimes, yeah, it's just not for. Let's just. It's not right there. Cool. Now, you see how thick this is? And again, all of the sleeves, this isn't even all. I mean, this is okay. This is all the cards. But those sleeves do add thickness. Oh, look, there's the tower. We saw the tower behind. Oops. I don't know if I showed the tower, but the tower was behind a slew of cards that was at the bottom of the deck. A slew. Something new. And maybe because again, the thing about recontextualize was so prevalent yesterday. Maybe this full moon Libra carries with it the chance to recontextualize our own journey, right? So if we've been frustrated at how much progress we have that we want or desire, or like if we've been having to be in survival however long, or if the state of our heart and mind and what we were attached to in the past kept us in survival mode, like it's recontextualizing all of that, or recontextualizing more recent events in terms of that. There's been an opportunity for rest and rejuvenation and for healing to occur and for the mending of a broken heart to happen, and opportunities for us to develop and then trust our intuition and discernment enough to be led and guided by it in ways that logic and reason and pattern recognition would not advise or would stop us. Like, now it's then was the time for the thinking and planning, or it was the time to reconnect with what it is that one truly desires. Queen of Wands and the Ace of Swords at the cut. Now that you know what you know, you can invest the energy to have it sort of like thrive and grow. Excuse me. It's almost like the first, it's almost like I saw something about public libraries and all the resources that they offer. And someone said that their public library had a seed library where you take seeds from the seed library, you plant it, and then when your plants grow, you just give back some of the seeds, right? And that's how you keep the seed library, whatever. So it is that energy, like with the Ace of Swords and the Queen of Wands, specifically the Queen of Wands as that transit between surviving and thriving, or whatever, however you want to brand it, name it. It's like at first it's going to be one plant or a handful of plants, but from those you get more seeds. And as you get more seeds, it's like the environment adapts to the plant and the plant adapts to the environment. And then it's like it creates this ecosystem where it can be more self sort of sufficient. And it doesn't require, it's almost like the amount of time, attention, energy, and effort that you devote to the one plant. It's almost like as the thing grows, you may be able to split that time, energy, attention, effort, and devotion. So it's not like what you gave to one, you're going to have to give to each individual when you get 20 of them. Not necessarily. If that's your path and journey, it depending on, I guess, depending on what you're creating, then like, yes. But it's like, as the thing sort of proliferates, eventually, like, there will be environmental factors that work with it. So it's not going to be as. Now there's the Page of Wands with the Ace of Swords, where we just saw the Queen. The Page gives that time of expansion, right? Or it's where the thing takes on its own life, right? The time, energy, care, and attention that you give to raising a child, especially in those earlier formative years, eventually there comes a time where the baby bird flies the nest and then they have their own family or whatever. Right. Okay. So from this half of the deck, we go 3, 2. Every time it's like every time I count down, that's when the cards want to start flipping. Not every time, but a lot of times. Oh, okay. We see the Knight of Swords again. And we see the Seven of Swords again. We've seen the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords, Knight of Swords, Justice. Now that like Queen of Swords type energy, she's holding the sword now. But on the other side is the scale. I love this. Again, especially right after the whole like recontextualizing recent events in terms of the past and navigating towards the future, especially when it comes to breaking patterns, habits, and cycles. It's like realizing that it's like you don't have to be hung up on the loss and the losses, or so obsessed with them and like thinking that your life could have been whatever, because now the night, like, It doesn't matter what the Seven of Swords is doing, the Knight of Swords is moving towards justice and swiftly, right? And if whatever is being taken at the Seven of Swords is to be returned, justice will see it return. It's almost like, why would you squabble with this Seven of Swords energy over what you see the Seven of Swords energy taking when you can just go to justice and justice will rule and you will get like all your stuff. And this is major arcana justice. This ain't necessarily take it as it resonates when it resonates. If it don't resonate, don't take it. Sometimes the justice system works for some people, or the justice system works in certain scenarios and situations. It's like there are things that it was built for and things that it can't necessarily accommodate. And it's not necessarily, I'm within the scope of this, we're talking about major arcana justice. We're talking about divine justice. We're not talking about the court of man. Let's just say that and leave it there. Why obsess over this when justice will see everything sort of rightfully restored? So again, like you don't have to obsess and chase or whatever this energy, that Seven of Swords energy. Justice, sword is in hand, the scale is in hand, and it's balanced. See, because of the motion in this Knight of Swords, it's almost like the Knight of Swords is in the vicinity of justice. Because as you see her hair whipping and the curtain behind her moving, so it's like that's the air of this Knight of Swords. It's like cool. And the Seven of Swords is like they've abandoned whatever. Anyway. But again, also that whole thriving, what is for you, you don't have to be obsessed with the past. If you can convince the knight to put the puzzle box down, you pass. If you can solve it, not only do you pass, but you get the prize inside. That was the challenge of the Knight of Swords. Now we see the Knight of Swords heading for justice. What is the boon of justice? Let's see. The fate altering boon. There are fate altering boons in this. Sometimes altering fate, especially when it's in our hands, it's us, changing things up. A major wrong will be righted, a major truth will be revealed publicly. A major wrong will be righted. I feel like I don't think we read it that way. I don't think I read it that way from a book. But it feels like that energy was here somewhere. Like I feel like I read it. Something about a wrong being righted or something like that. But I don't think I use those words, if that makes sense. Anyway, we don't have to. Seven of Swords, deception, deceit, stuff like that. Justice. A wrong will be righted. A truth will come out publicly. Sometimes, hello? Oh. Sometimes it's like it's what do they say? It's like your happiness or is the best revenge type energy. There's like depending on the situation, if someone's like this person this and this person that, you thriving is the public revelation of that truth. Because if what was said was true, reality wouldn't be what it is. Type of situation. You know what I mean? Ooh, the magician in the tower. I didn't read that in the Offset Romani tarot. Hey, this could have been made like it could be something reclaims. And if you want to reclaim whatever word you reclaim, hey, kudos to you. But just because you reclaiming it, don't mean I necessarily got to say it. You know what I mean? Hold up. That wasn't the magician. It just said number one on it. There's an actual magician. It just had a one at the top, so I assumed it was the magician. What card was I looking at? Where's the fortune favors the bold card? Did it not say one? Hello? Am I tweaking? What card was I looking at? I mean, it's right here. It's not even here. Oh my goodness. I mean, obviously, it could be an extra card, right? All right, fine. It's, it's cool. It's whatever. It's whatever. It's cool. We ain't gotta obsess over it. Well, I wanted to read the story plot of the card. That's why I opened up the book. It almost feels like this last page of Major Arcana is like extra thick. I mean, fortune favors the bold, right? We ain't gotta. That's the story plot enough in and of itself. Okay, cool. Word. The magician is at the cut with the tower. Also, the magician in this deck isn't holding on to any one of those elements, just like the Queen of Swords wasn't holding on to the sword. So, in that case scenario, situation, and circumstance, you could say it's the magician in the capacity of swords, like specifically working with the element of swords. When it comes to the mind, when it comes to logic and reasoning, some things, especially when it comes to logic, reasoning, and pattern recognition, some things have to be seen to be believed. The realm of the Queen of Cups with that Eight of Swords. The Queen of Swords can believe it without seeing it. But other things have to be seen in order to be believed. And kind of sort of again going back to that surviving into thriving, maybe navigating the realm of belief. But it's like a person. But again, we saw with that 26, a strong individual is coming. Like you will be influenced by a strong individual, and it's a time for learning. Whoever this resonates for, because that was at the bottom of the deck. Again, it was that energy like you could be the strong individual that's sort of in a position of influence, or you could be influenced by another. When it comes to clanging is auspicious, but as long as the fire from within burns bright, then it's fine, right? Even if you're not necessarily the person that is doing the unimagined, like even if you're the person in a position to be influenced by another individual, if your internal fire is strong, then it's still auspicious. Because some things we just don't know, and some things it's not necessarily for us to prove, right? It could be not your path and not your journey. There are many paths, and there are things that are for other people to do. You don't necessarily have to do it all. You don't have to be the person inventing the wheel, right? You can be the person that's making the breakthroughs in combustion science, whatever. There are multiple components to a car. Some people invent the wheels, some people invent the bodies, some people invent the engines, some people invent the interiors. Some people make it comfortable and make it something that you actually want to sit in. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to do it all. As long as your internal fire burns bright, it's fine. But you could be that person that is like proving. And with that Wheel of Fortune energy, it could be happening in the environment. Cool. And if you can like be not threatened by it, all the better. The Five of Pentacles is the card that came out. And it's funny because it's like stormy, and I mentioned how much it was raining. Or there's some weather. It could be snow, it could be water. Bottom of the deck is the Four of Cups. Under the Four of Cups is the High Priestess. Intuition, discernment, the divine offering you what you need or what's going to move you forward. And it may not necessarily be the thing that you think. Or because the Five of Pentacles is here, it could be the thing that you never thought you would get in the first place. And so again, this could participate. And the Nine of Wands is behind that High Priestess. Very much so the thing that you never thought you would get, or what you've been holding the line for. It could be coming. And that could be the whole like, will/can you receive it? Also, the challenge of the Five of Pentacles is a challenge of receiving something. Just like the Four of Cups. Can you receive what the divine is offering? You know, to keep it consistent. The Five of Coins, so it'll be 5 times a D100. This room contains chests, each containing a number of gold. The door unlocks when the coins are removed from the chest. It is also interesting that here is a challenge of receiving gold coins from a chest, because in the other tarot deck, the Aset Ramani tarot, there were the coins of earth and the Wheel of Fortune, but also the coins in the bag of the Emperor. Coins in the bag, it's giving the energy of coins in a chest, because there's not a game that you have to play. You just have to receive it. Right? So usually, hello? Usually I would ask Google to roll, or I would do it electronically, but I have these dice here. So I'll just roll. Each chest contains gold. How many chests are there? I think when I first did it, or when I've done this in the past, I approached it as like the chests contain a sum total of this amount of gold. But now, as I'm reading it, each chest contains this amount of gold. So you act like you get a multiple of it, which again almost plays into the whole thing of like denominations, right? Where each one in and of itself is worth more than what was sort of on the ground. There we go. There we go. Goodness. I'm looking at 92 right now. You know what? Why not? For funsies. I feel like my luck when it comes. Oh, there was a 20. For funsies, we'll roll a d20. 19. There we see the number 19 again. 4 plus 7 plus 5 plus 3 is 19. Then at the bottom of the deck, we saw number 19. 19 is what came out. 19 beats the DC 18, and it beats the DC 12. So it solves both the challenge of the Four of Coins and the Knight of Swords. And the fact that we saw both of these cards again, the Four of Cups at the bottom of the deck and the Knight of Swords being the middle, the fact that we see both of these again and we roll a 19 passing the DC, the fact that 19 has been 19, 19, 19. This is the third time we've seen 19. 10, 10, 10s across the board type energy. That's interesting. I love that. I love it. Like low key, I was like, again, as I've been reading it, the energy has been one of like the challenge of solving the puzzle for the knight that's been obsessed with it, and the challenge of like drinking the right cup to get the key to liberate oneself from that devil energy. It read like you're receiving the cup. It read like you're moving forward. It read like you're breaking the habits and patterns that you need to break to get where you're going. It's been reading like that. I was a little bit like, again, a DC 18 is kind of high. There's a 85% chance of failure. We wrote 19. It's all good. Love that. Now it's on 20. What? 44. Shout out to Everlong Mystic. And it's so funny because I just saw like 444 maybe, and it reminded me of her. 44 times 5, is that 220? It may be, but 44 times 5. Oops. It's 220. So each chest contains 220 gold pieces. This room contains. Oh, wait. Okay. Comprehension is key. Comprehension is important. I think I did read this right in spirit. So for coins challenges 2 through 10, these room contains chests, each containing a number of gold pieces. So this room contains a chest. So I did read it right the first time. This room contains a chest that has 220 gold pieces in it. The door unlocks when the coins are removed from the chest. 220 is the third 20 and the second 20. Or the third 2 and the second 2. The second 2 is justice. In this deck, which we've seen, it's 11. It can be justice or strength depending on the deck you're using. Here it's justice, and we see justice. 200 is the third 2, which is 20, which is judgment. Right? So this is judgment and justice. Judgment and justice. Like, a judgment is being made, justice is ruling in your favor. And again, just like it was time for the thinking woman to act, it is time to receive whatever this is. Like, a judgment has been made and justice is ruling in your favor. It's for you to receive. And again, at this point, it's not a game of chance, it's through that emperor energy. Because this isn't like, the challenge here is literally just to receive. That's it. The challenge isn't to play a game. The challenge isn't to try to come out on top or whatever. Just like with the Emperor, it's just to receive, it's just to do. Also, the fact that the die that was a 19 is now a 20, and 4 times 44 times 5 is 220. Love it. But because I read it the way I read it this time, it still feels like there are multiple chests, each having 220. There can be an unlimited number of chests at the same time, because the sack that the emperor has a never ending supply of coins. Each time you need it, it's 220. And it's not like you have to wait. Like, you do have to open multiple chests. It's not like you get 220 a day. So if you hoard and stockpile, maybe that also plays into that. I think it's when the children of Israel were wandering the wilderness and they, like, where the bread and manna like fell from the heavens, and it's like every day they had bread and manna enough to sustain themselves. So they didn't have to hoard it in order to be like, even though they were abundantly provided for, their scarcity mindset kept them hoarding it when it was freely provided. And because they hoarded it, they brought ruin upon themselves. So again, it's almost that, like, even when the situations and circumstances changed, scarcity, they were so attached to it. It had such a hold on them. They were so obsessed with that. Well, what if it doesn't last? That it caused them to spoil the very thing. You know what I mean? So again, like, you don't have to hoard the 220. It's not like you get 220 a day. It's as you get it in 220 increments, right? So if you need 221, then you get 440. And the other 219, you just let it go. Because again, you don't have to hoard it. I don't know what you do with the extra. It's like you get it in those increments. So it's not like, oh my gosh, like it's 221. So I can, like, if I get my 220 now and I get my 220 tomorrow, then like I'll have enough. It's like you just take another, you just open another chest. It's like it's there to open. So, like that's how the energy is sort of like reading and playing out. Now that I'm like, I don't know, I'm actually intrigued. I wish I could ask my number one fan. I probably could. I could ask her to come into the, or she may say something. Maybe we'll collaborate one day. Can you imagine? No, absolutely not. Absolutely. Like the thing is, like, because I think I've called to her one time and I had like the microphone muted and the camera off or something maybe, and she was like, "Hey," maybe she did actually say hi. Anyway, it's fine. Bread and manna Bible. Manna is bread from heaven, or grain from angels, was a miraculous wafer like substance provided by God to the Israelites for 40 years during their wilderness wanderings following the Exodus. It appeared nightly as dew like flakes, tasted like wafers with honey. Honey, interesting, because again, honey was that natural sweetness. It first it was unprocessed, but through manna, girl, it was divine. We're in the realm of like ambrosia, you know. It appeared nightly as dew flakes, symbolized divine provision, sustenance, and later the bread of life in Christian theology. Exodus 16:13 to 14. Manna appeared on the desert floor after dew evaporated, described as fine flake like frost. What? The name comes from the Hebrew manho. I butchered that. Translating to what is it? Because the Israelites did not recognize it. What is it? Fell from the heavens and it divinely sustained them. It was white, resembling coriander seed and a resin, tasting like wafers made with honey or cakes baked with oil. The manna fell daily until the Israelites reached the border of Canaan and ate the produce of the promised land, marked the ending of miraculous supply. Okay, never mind, never mind. Man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord, was the symbol of the use the strict gathering instructions to see if the Israelites would follow his instructions. Foreshadowing Christ in John 6, chapter 6, verse 32 to 35, Jesus calls himself the true bread from heaven, or the bread of life, contrasting the temporary physical sustenance of manna with the eternal life he provides. The hidden manna in Revelation 2:17. Like I feel like I just watched Weapons with my buddy in London, my best friend. I have many best friends, but I don't feel a certain type. Well, girl, anyway, it's fine. And the clock was 2:17. I feel like I've been seeing 2:17 a lot. So Revelations 2:17, this is mentioned as a promise to those who overcome, symbolizing hidden divine wisdom and eternal life. Hidden divine wisdom with that emperor, with that Hierophant energy, the flames of truth in that hermit card. I think I said Hierophant, the emperor and the hermit. To those who overcome, also a promise to those who overcome with that Nine of Wands, Four of Wands, letting go of the obsession, allowing that door to spirit to heal and mend the broken heart, but also the spirits that we reach out to. Are we reaching out for healing, or are we reaching out for some kind of vengeance and vindication and validation? And it's interesting because the energy of judgment and justice, the Knight of Swords and Justice, is here. Justice that is the result, like mending, receiving the cup of healing, not by reaching out for some kind of vengeance, vindication, and validation. Anyway, I thought something happened. Like I know it would spoil. What happened to the manna that was saved? This is all AI overview, by the way. Wait, what? The temple. Hold up. I didn't even know they put manna in a jar. According to the Bible, the jar of manna saved by Moses and Aaron was placed inside the Ark of the Covenant as a testimony for future generations. It remained there miraculously preserved and not rotting throughout the wilderness wanderings. Its final fate is unknown, excuse me, though it was likely lost or destroyed when the temple was destroyed. And then we saw the temple path. But along the temple path, there was the Ace of Cups being offered. Anyway, we could dive into the metaphor all day long. Apparently, it lasted them until they got to the promised land. And so, again, but that was the thing, right? It's unending. It's never ending. As long as you need it, it's there. It's like, again, it's that 220. It's like going to the ATM, right? The ATM I go to, it dispenses 20s. So you can get as much money as you can get out of the ATM, which is as much as in your account. I'm sorry. But it's distributed in $20 increments. The denomination of the ATM is 20. It's a $20 bill. So if you need $10, $15, $17, $20, 21, 22, 25, 200, it's going to dispense. You can get as much as you can withdraw, but the denomination is in 20s. We've seen a lot of 1919 is the sun. Because I'm like, I don't necessarily like, what would the denomination be? I mean, we already got 220. So it would be in an increment of 220. 220 is judgment, justice, and the fool, because the zero. I usually don't go for the zero. I could go for the zero, but the fool is implied like, if there is no magician to the hermit. But I guess in that way, I would never give the fool an opportunity to appear, but also like the fool is the fool. And it symbolizes in some ways the self as we go through the journey of the major arcana. Right. I love to say that, like, we're not the emperor, we're not the empress, we're not the magician, we're not the tower, whatever. We are the fool. And if we see the magician, the moon, the sun, the stars, whatever, that's the fool at the magician. It's the fool at the tower. It's the fool at the sun or whatever. But again, like, without allowing that zero to have significance and meaning, I never really let the fool show up. Actually, no, I take it back, because the fool is 300 and the world is 400. I use the Spencer Tarot cards as a basis because that's when I was looking at the cards and I'm like, what is this? And then I was like, oh, so, and that is the rendition where the fool is in between judgment and the world. You can also have the fool after the world, but it's like the fool is in between judgment and the world. I think it's fine. Anyway, there is room for the fool. So I take it back. The denomination is judgment and justice, which is perfect. I don't know how a better card to, determine what that denomination would be. Cool. We've arrived at the end. It has been almost 3 hours. So, yeah. Um, mm, I think we're done. I think we're done. We don't have to prolong this anymore than we already have. I am getting like hungry. I've been craving a sandwich. I don't know if I'm gonna get one today. All right, we're talking about food. It's fine. I guess that's it. Should we have like a moment of silence? I feel like we have plenty of moments of silence, but I don't necessarily take one. I'm just like thinking. Yeah. Let's just end this. I don't know why I feel like there's something else I want to reach for. But this is the 4 decks that I've used. 2 tarot, 2 oracle. Love that balance. Yeah. That's it. I really see. I don't want to ask Bixby to flip a coin, but I really almost feel like there's something more. We'll go for it. H if Y, T if no. Hey Bixby, flip a coin, please.
All right, here comes the flick. Looks like it came up heads.
Heads. Heads was yes. Like I feel like there's something more, but I don't know what to reach for. It's like, really? That's what you're going to reach for? Yes, it is. So, what I'm reaching for. If I can even open it, really? Imagine defeated by the box. Hello? I felt like this was just yeah, here it is. Oh. Oh. Is this upside down? No. Hello? Oh. Okay. You know all these like I've been talking about like, oh, we did a booster pack, whatever. A bunch of these Magic the Gathering cards. Yeah, this is what I'm reaching for. How many are we gonna get? We'll get 2 and 2. How about that? For the 220. There's one card in a sleeve. Oh gosh. I can't even get these. I see the Dragonologist. All right. Is that a card back? That is a card back. I was like, really, Patrick? You couldn't just leave it. You couldn't just leave it at less than 3 hours, could you? Hey, when you get a feeling, sometimes you just got to keep pulling, you know? This card is stuck. There's one card that's like stuck. You know what? I'm going to leave it. And it's interesting that it's a spirit. It's like there's like sticky things, and it's like I'm not gonna, as a token creature, I'm sure there's something on the back. Is this low key giving the hope? Because I was like, when I was like, am I really gonna be defeated by a box? And then I was like, Pandora's box, and I was like, oh girl, we're not opening Pandora's box. But hope was the one thing left in the box, and this card of spirit is like literally stuck to the thing, symbolizing the hope that was stuck in the box. Now, and it's interesting because we talked about the mana that went missing, right? They put some mana in a jar to preserve it, and it went missing. But it's also like hope was the one thing that you couldn't see or that wasn't seen until it was like what was needed the most, right? It was thought that everything was out of the box. So it's like the what is it of it all may make a reappearance. And it's so funny because I had that thought yesterday. Like there will be times I'll be like sitting somewhere and I'll set my phone down or my remote down, like if I'm watching TV, and I'll like be feeling I'll feel for it before I look for it, right? And I won't find it. And then I'll look and I won't find it. And then I'm like, okay. And then like 10 minutes will go by or something. And I'll like want to pause the TV or I'll want to text on my phone and I'll reach right for it. And it's like, I felt all around here and it was not here. Like it just blipped out of existence and then it came back. That happened yesterday. I was like, what, really? And it like one time I was at the grocery store with my grandma and I didn't have my glasses. We made a few stops. There was one stop, I checked all my pockets. I could not find my glasses. Then we go to the grocery store and I want to read like a label for her or something and I just reach right for them. Like I know exactly where they are when I was looking for them, I couldn't find them. And it was like this was the first place I checked. They weren't in there and the pocket is empty, but now all of a sudden, I don't know, summoned it from the ether. Like your favorite lit RPG inventory system, where it just disappears into thin air and then you pluck it from thin air, like your bag of holding. Anyway, so just it's like when it needs to be found, it will be there. Type energy. I don't know. Anyway, all right. How many cards are we getting? Did I say? We'll do a clean flip or clean fall. How about that? How about that? How about that? How about that? We have the Beauregard Mentor and the Undergrowth Leopard at the cut. On your pause, I've been fighting in these fields for more seasons than you've had hot dinners. These are those who developed peculiar taste after generations of dining upon the remains of interclan rivalry. The Undergrowth Leopard was in reverse. Oof. Not those who develop peculiar taste after generations of taking advantage of people. Beauregard mentors like I've been fighting for years. What was that? I fought these monsters for years. It was some Joan Crawford, maybe Mommy Dearest quote that Alyssa Edwards said in her depiction of Joan Crawford in the Snatch Game. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. All right, clean flip or clean fall. Clean flip, clean fall, or no cards at all. Let's go. We'll give it 5. 4. 3. Okay, we got our flip. We got our flip. We got 4 cards. I almost went looking for 4 cards. 2 2 in reverse, 2 upright. First reverse, upright, upright, reverse, or the same. Reverse, upright, upright, reverse, either front or back. So we got the 2 and then the 2. From left to right, we have the Bumble Flowers Share Pot. It says I may have overestimated the portions. And it's the shiny. Is this the mana in the jar that was in reverse? And that's next to Norin Swift Survivalist. I don't know what it was. Why would I stick around to find out? The whole I don't know what it was, but is this mana in the share pot in reverse? Because apparently it translated to what is it? I don't know what it was. What is it? But why would I stick around to find out? What's at the bottom of the deck? Is another foil. Conduct electricity. Give me a lightning rod, something I can use as a channel. Raoul called above the mayhem. Nodding, Phineas drew a copperleaf arrow from his emptying quiver and shot. This is so funny because in the disology, we saw an arrow that pierces the heavens and breaks the clouds. And the card came out with some kind of symbolism, right? Give me a lightning rod, something I can use as a channel. Raoul called above the mayhem. Nodding, Phineas drew a copperleaf arrow from his emptying quiver and shot. We also saw the arrow in the mystical shaman oracle cards. The arrow from that emptying quiver being the thing used being the channel. It's so interesting because, again, the symbol, the reminder of a time of divine sustenance and provision, it's like at the same time, in the what is it of it all, with it being divine provision and sustenance, there are some ways that our needs haven't changed. Like we still need food, water, shelter, but it's like what the divine provided one person or one people's at a certain point in time when they were in the desert may not be the same as what the divine provides you in your situation of the time of life that you're in, and it may not be the same as me in the situation in the time of life that I'm in. So if it is a relic of divine provision, but different people need different things, different people would see manna as something different, or it would taste different. To some, for the hungry, it would be dew that tastes of sweet baked goods. For those that need shelter, it may be an umbrella or a poncho from the rain. Basically, if you were to look in the box expecting to see something, some dew like substance that tastes of sweet bread, but that's not what you need to be provided, or that's not what you need to sustain you, then it's like you wouldn't recognize divine provision and sustenance when when you're faced with it, because like your temple path is different, basically. This also plays into the whole Seven of Swords, Emperor, Wheel of Fortune, Hermit, Devil, Knight of Swords storyline, where with the comparative thing, right? Like what someone else needs isn't necessarily what you need. So it could be easy for one person to look at what someone else needs and to look at them receiving what they need and to moving on. And it's almost like it's that thought of like, well, if I got that, like if all I had to do was go out in the early morning when the dew is at its point of evaporating and chew a blade of grass, I could chew grass all day long. But it's like that's not the thing that someone again may necessarily need for their path. Maybe their thing is they have to say yes when someone asks them a question where they would usually say no. And it's like the person that their intuition and discernment makes them feel so comfortable around, like that is their divine provision. It's the invitation being extended in a safe environment. But again, it's like the challenge for them is accepting the invitation, and that's what they can't do. So that's what they say no to. But then they look at what the other person or someone else would have challenge or an issue saying yes to, and they think that because they can say yes to that, that their path is somehow more difficult. And it's like courage and strength, they're relative. If someone doesn't have a fear of heights, it's not a stretch for them to get on a roller coaster or whatever, you know? But it's almost like that's why this person runs from it. Norin, the swift survivalist. That's why they run. Like, I don't know what that is, but I'm not going to stick around and find out. They run from the manna, from the divine provision. It's interesting. This card is actually stuck to another. There's a rabbit. Oh, they're afraid of the rabbit. Imagine like you don't know what a rabbit is. All you know is there's this animal that is like proliferating like crazy. You open the box one day and it's like one or two of them. You go back in a few days and there's like 10. A few days after that, there's 100. And you're like, oh my gosh. Like, is this some kind of alien creature that's just like budding and whatever? But that kind of, I mean, we can look at rabbit symbolism. We don't necessarily have to. Like, imagine, yeah. Anyway, that's these two. I didn't even notice that there was a rabbit behind this. Also, you could say that hope has a multiplicative effect just like fear, right? Fear can feed itself, hope can feed itself, or trust can feed itself. Next, we have seized from slumber. Tyson tried to scream for help, but his lungs simply unraveled. Oh, good. I feel like I saw this as like maybe in one of those movie things, and I feel like it was like in Doctor Strange Across the Multiverse. Was that the name of it? When Wanda like approached the Fantastic Four and unraveled John Krasinski, the spaghettification. In reverse, we have the Ravine Raider. The path to the Cliff of Heroes is rife with bandits, expertly camouflaged in the dense flora of valley. Interesting that we have a path of heroes because the temple path, but it's in reverse. Tyson tried to scream for help, but his lungs simply unraveled. There's this energy here. It's not like trying to scream, but terror taking the sound before you make it. um, but it almost gives like some kind of like time loopy type energy, right? Like someone, it's like if you think of like a Groundhog's Day time loop type movie, but in I don't know how the day resets in Groundhog's Day, but it's like whenever someone sees something that like terrifies them and they go to scream, it's like that starts the loop back over. So it's almost like this amnesiac fog in the mind that effectively keeps someone from facing something that they're afraid of. And because they can't face it, they can't like overcome it. And they sort of like blank it out or black out or right. The path to the cliff of heroes, excuse me, is rife with bandits expertly camouflaged in the dense flora of the valley. This is also interesting because of the whole energy of the Keeper of Karnak that came out. That I kind of brought up. I didn't really necessarily go full into. Basically, the Keeper of Karnak is a light so bright that it exacerbates the shadow. And the closer we get, the darker the shadow, where we have to face ourselves. And if we're incapable of facing and overcoming ourselves, then we sort of like either consciously or subconsciously turn around and start to walk away from that light. Right. But it's almost like with the bandits in reverse, it's almost like there's no external threat in a certain scenario or situation. There's only the self and manifestations of one's fear, insecurity, doubts, or worries. Like it's an arena where someone is their own barrier of entry, more or less. And it's interesting because on the other side is that divine provision. So it's almost like there's a fear, a blockage, an obstruction that someone may continuously encounter on their way to getting where they want to go. But every time they hit that, they encounter some kind of fear that gets them to, again, knowingly or not, sort of backtrack. And then, so like now there's this divine provision that is being made to help someone break through. But it's either like encountering the provision itself invokes the fear that gets someone to turn away from the provision just like they turn away from the blockage, or it's like a knowing that the provision is for the blockage, right? So it either evokes fear through association or evokes fear through potential like use, right? Association is almost giving like exposure therapy, whereas potential use is like the thing itself doesn't necessarily evoke the fear, but when you see it, you know that it's for the fear. And because you know the thing is for the fear and you're not ready to face the thing yet, you're also not ready to accept the provision. So it feels like this almost gives us a little bit of a breakdown on that Ace of Cups that's being offered in the Four of Cups, that when taken and like with that Knight of Swords would lead to justice. And again, it's different for different people. So we've worked through the mana, through the what is it? What is this of it all to arrive sort of here. And again, divine provision looks different for different people. And different people have different challenges, obstacles, and blockages. And even people with similar challenges and obstacles have different reservations. And so, like the hermit, the story plot of the hermit that has to decide what information to disseminate, if any, and how to disseminate it. It's like because something works for us or another doesn't necessarily mean that it'll work for others or us. But also, maybe it's to apply discernment with the dissemination of wisdom, right? So if there's something that helps somebody else overcome their challenge and obstacle, maybe it's for us to, if it's for us, or when like the whole resonance of it is breaking down, it's like, well, if this was the challenge and obstacle that this other person needed, and this is what helped them navigate their obstacle, what is my obstacle? It's almost like this equivalence. And when it comes to equivalence, it's always you find that resonance, right? Like if this was their obstacle and this is my obstacle, and this helped them overcome their obstacle, then what would help me overcome my obstacle, right? So if it is an exposure therapy type thing, and that's what resonates, right? Like if someone has arachnophobia and how they got over their arachnophobia was plastic spiders, and your fear is one of heights, then maybe you watch videos at height, right? And that's like how you expose yourself and without really encountering the thing type. Like that could be an equivalence, right? Of like their challenge obstacle, their provision versus your challenge obstacle, your provision type energy. I don't know. Again, we did see the influential person sort of floating around with that 26 fire strength type energy. Cool. Also, obviously, there's a little bit of Sagittarian flair because of the arrow. Arrow, Sagittarius is the archer. Um, cool. Cool, cool, cool. And that simultaneously, that almost simultaneously answers the question of like what the denomination is. The manna was a divine provision. They were hungry, they needed food. So manna took the form of food. Divine provision took the form of sustenance, right? If courage is what someone needs, then divine provision could take the appearance or the form of safe spaces. Maybe there's a friend that you can share your poetry with, and then a group of friends or family that you can read your poetry to before you go on stage and you become this like world renowned artist or whatever. But to get over your stage fright or to get over your fear of vulnerability, divine provision would be the safe space to like get accustomed to it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like they still had to walk in the desert type energy. You know what I mean? It's not like they just stopped and chilled for 40 years in the same spot. Divine provision was there for them on their journey until they got to where they were going. Right. So just like it can't be hoarded, maybe at the same time, it's for you to continue. I don't know. So hey, we got 20 more minutes. I am now satisfied. I feel like that scratch the itch. It's interesting though that it is seized from slumber. Seized from slumber, giving that almost like time loopy type energy. It's also interesting that the rabbit is here. Rabbits are symbolic of spring. Seized from slumber could be a wintry hibernation type energy. Being afraid of the rabbit could be a hesitancy towards the ending of a season of stillness, rest, rejuvenation, recuperation, um, something like that, right? Because when the spring comes, it's time to spring into action. You're going to wake up, you're going to be hungry from the long hibernation. You're going to have to go out and do stuff. I don't know. It's a change of seasons. Sometimes, even if we are not happy or satisfied, we can grow comfortable in certain seasons. Um, and so the change of a season can be seen of as a threat, right? Especially if you've gotten comfortable in something where you kind of sort of know more or less what to expect, right? So take it as it resonates. When it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever, whoever you need along your path, journey, and way, however, and why ever you need it, I hope you find it. And until next time, until next time, I hope you I don't know. It feels like, again, sort of a lot with that Four of Cups along the temple path. It feels like opportunity is ripe. It may not necessarily be immediately obvious or blaringly obvious. It could be an inkling or a nudge or an offhand comment or something like that. I hope you the discernment, foresight, um, ability to perceive, comprehend, or investigate the potential solution, the divine provision, or the confirmation and validation of that which you believe but have not yet seen, or that which you're beginning to see as you are adapting your beliefs. Like I hope that process, whatever, for you, and that it goes as smooth as it can go for you. And until next time, that's it.